All right, just a cool 3 hours later. Not that the child was not crying for 3 hours. Just it took me 3 hours to get back to a quiet state. So what were we talking about? We were talking about texture and last couple images. Just a quick recap, maybe mostly for me. Yeah, effective. You know, is it a coincidence that people are altering the perspective and human face? Like you cannot see the human face here, well, like in its entirety. Um, oh my goodness, we have to go all the way back to here before we can see a full human face. Distorted. Here's another one. Nope. Nope. Sort of. I mean, that might be a top tip is obscuring, revealing, altering, abstracting. I mean, all that. Here again, that kind of shifting in Photoshop. It's fairly simple to do. It's something that I can definitely show once I get back. The both technical aspect of Photoshop and a little bit of technical stuff with lighting. Portrait. I would call that a portrait. Yeah. Here, I'm pretty sure I've seen this before. I think this feels like a more traditional portrait, as does this. Same photographer. And obviously, environment is playing a huge role in this. Color and light. Color and light go very far. Abstracting again with light. But again, notice, we got a lot of things going on here. This is a lot more complicated than you think. So we have a mirror doing the reflection. It's particularly helpful if you're really doing a self-portrait. But then we have a shadow and a light source here that's from. But then you have a second light source from behind. Just start playing around, tweaking, see what you like. Yeah. So she's got, if we look at that eye again, there appear to be 1, 2, 3, 4 different light sources of varying intensity. I would say 2 of them are doing most of the work. So, yeah. Now, let's shift into the just general class look. Why is that so small? I don't know. I think there's something wrong with the file. But in any case, hopefully you can see, you can, even with it large or small, you can barely see the figure here, but enough elements are clear so that I think it works. Experimental, interesting perspective. Yeah, good work. Topical. Principle's okay, but I think the framing is interesting. Some thought was considered when talking about positioning and arrangement of things, but I don't think if we're going for balance, I don't think this ultimately is that successful. A nice portrait, that's going to make a great Facebook post for the mom, but I don't see a clear principle. Here's my hang up. What is the element? The element of art, light, line, color, texture, shape, space. Which one of those is creating a principle of design? It's darn subtle if there's any. Experimental, contrast, sort of balance. If the other side had been a little bit more evenly lit, which was just difficult. But the experimentation goes quite a long way here. Contrasting color, moderately successful. Cool portrait, not clear design at all. Like if there's a principle of design, it's imposed retroactively, in that there's no evidence that it was deliberate on the photographer's part. No principle. That's a portrait. It's quite heavy contrast, harsh lighting portrait, and there's no principle. Experimental pronunciation. Experimental with light contrast, maybe. I don't know. Not super clear. This person probably saw a video that I already showed talking about reflections and experimenting in that way, but I don't see how this reflection serves the purpose of a principle of design. Experimenting with, I'm not entirely sure. Either a longer exposure where they paused in different spots, or multiple photographs layered on top of each other. Either way, I'm not sure what principle they're going for, and it's not super clear what principle. Like, if they're going for emphasis or something like that, I don't see decisions being made that would prove that. Contrast. All right. Unquestionably, this person's going for contrast. We have the colors being a huge role here. It's fairly effective. Some real significant image quality issues. But at least I would say it's really clear what they're going for, and it's fairly effective. Unique perspective, design's questionable. I think maybe an interesting idea. Design's unclear. I don't know that I'd love it as a standalone portrait here. Very experimental, very unclear on the design. Really clean portrait, nice lighting, principle of design, less established. Ooh, so what's the takeaway from this? Please, just let me scroll. Okay. Oh, there is no scrolling because that's how small the class was. Or, probably more accurately, that's how many people turned it in on time. Hybrid, COVID, we'll make some allowances. The takeaway is, for success, principle needs to be before good portrait. You definitely want to consider lighting, and with a little bit of luck, I'll get a tutorial on good lighting in before too many of us get too far into this. But it's not going to be easy. In many ways, the requirement of portraiture works against the rubric that's so design and experimentation heavy. It can be done. We switch back to this one. It can be done. Look at all these great examples of that. But what we're seeing here is more experimentation with light. Perhaps bringing in the environment to aid in composition. And frankly, what I see so many times, do we see it as many? Yeah, I see way more whole faces here than I do here. I'm not saying that's the road to success, but I'm saying that is a trend. So, good luck.